Guys, it's Hot Sob Hunk Doop coming here right to you. It is Wednesday, gonna be March 15th, and we are in for quite the day. Those of you at home, hopefully you're full of as much excitement and hot sauce as I am. That was as much as I could do. That was something. Home children, it's a long video. Hopefully it has as much entertainment as that beginning did, because that's going to give me a nightmare. We have a whole bunch of new Brovy art for you. Tomorrow's theme is jerseys, whatever jersey you're wanting to go with. Dance coming up on Friday with DJ Sparkle Moose and Charger Challenge. So we have third Charger Challenge coming up next Tuesday, so a week from yesterday. I have invites here I'll hand out to you here in just a second. If you have gotten an invitation at all this year, meaning you have gotten one of these things, your invitation still works. You can then just go ahead and come up and see me at end of day and sign up. If you get one of new invitations, then again, you can sign up today at end of school. If you have never gotten an invitation, yours opens up tomorrow, and then you can sign up tomorrow, Thursday, if you are wanting to. As long as you have a C in your English, Social Studies, and Science for third 9 weeks, then you should be good to go as far as that one goes. If you have already done it, you have to wait until Monday before you get a chance to sign up. So you have to wait till then, and then you get a chance to go again. And then we get to add you to the collection, because so far we are undefeated this year. I would love for us to continue. The most any team has ever won is 3 in a row. We have never had a team sweep an entire year. So we are halfway to setting an all-time record of sweeping, but it does get tougher because the other teams start coming against you and attack you, and they're full of haters. So what I'm going to do is hand out our invitations here, and then we're going to get to this thing here in a moment, and then I'll start the recorder thing again. So you'll just have to, while we're paused, you can go down to your kitchen and get some hot sauce. Don't get a hunk in your kitchen. That'd be creepy. Now the whole thing's creepy, so we're just going to stop there. Yay, we got to listen to kids do wonderfully on their little speaky bits. Let's see. Yesterday, let's do quick reviews so we can get to fun news stories. Humans 1.0. Who made the first race of humans? Using what 2 ingredients?
Water and water.
Dirt and water, not mud.
Mud is water.
Zeus can't use him, so who does Zeus use instead?
His Epimetheus brother.
His Epimetheus brother, as opposed to his Epimetheus friend. Epimetheus comes in. What new ingredient do we use?
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, clay comes in.
Play-Doh.
Plus, what bonus thing does he get to use?
Box.
Box of
Parts.
box of body parts. It does sound creepy. And because he's not only making humans, what else is he making?
Animals.
And that's where all the animals come in. And then he starts making all of the animals, and then what mistake does he make?
He saves humans to last.
And why is that a problem?
No more stuff.
And all the stuff gets used on the animals. So animals get all the good stuff. Humans get all the leftover bits. And we have Gus.
So you tell us all these stories about how the gods turned to animals before humans were made. So, before these humans were made, which means it's before the animals were made. So how did they know what the animals looked like?
That's why they didn't. He was just making up random animals. So Epimetheus was just making his own animals and throwing them down there. They don't have to eat. They're gods.
What?
They eat each other.
But Dionysus.
They live on nectar and ambrosia. That was their thing that they got to do. They didn't really have to eat food. Wait, are you trying to apply logic? We killed the sky. We gave up on logic a long time ago. Silly children. You're like, Mr. Brovicast, this doesn't make sense. Of course not. It's a religion. Religion doesn't have to make sense. You just go, oh, and everything's good. So we got to sacrifices, which were important to them. Why was it important to them?
And show how popular you are.
Did you say Poseidon?
No, I said it decided.
Decided. That's the word. That makes sense.
It decided how popular.
That would work. I like decided. And then let's see the whole. And then what is it you're supposed to sacrifice? That's for the food. You guys sound like a bunch of cows. And then let's see. What trick did Zeus put into sacrificing?
All sacrifices.
Which means, who is the most important?
Zeus.
Who's the second most?
Depending on the time of the year.
Rotate.
Like-
Couple.
If you were giving a sacrifice to Zeus, would you also have to put out another side portion for him? Okay.
Because you do one to Zeus and then one to the king of the gods. Because his excuse was, I might not always be king of the gods. I just happen to be king of the gods right now. So that was sort of how he manipulated it. Zeus. And then we get to the start of the big cow
Yeah.
with how he's going to sacrifice
Ended
animals.
the big cow. We got tricked with the teepee of
Alright, so we didn't get to this.
magical goo.
So what are our 4 parts of the cow?
Bone, oil,
gooey,
fur,
Leather
meat.
jacket.
So leather jacket, and then
Meat.
meat.
All that.
Then you
Glowing
get to
oil.
rainbow fat.
and then the rainbow oil, and there's our rainbow oil, and then we got to that issues, we got to the rainbow bits, and then we got through, we get to them making their choice and someone helping them.
Yes, Prometheus,
Alright.
you're dumb.
So, I'm glad
No
you
wonder
folks-
Prometheus made me.
And then we have Prometheus who shows up and explains to them the fact that you want to make sure you have those. Did we get to Zeus choosing?
Yes.
And we got to the picture of
Yeah.
Yeah.
TP, the little sticks that go into it, and then the exploded cow bits. And then Zeus showing up and making his choice. Which one does Zeus choose?
Pretty.
Why does he pick rainbow bits? And who gets this part? Why?
I believe the last word you said yesterday was we're gonna be friendly.
Oh yeah, we are going to get to that in a moment too. And then we got to here, and then Zeus picks up the rainbow sticks and turns out to be slime everywhere. And then who does he know tricked him? And then do we get to him confronting Prometheus?
Yeah, he gets two.
There you go. All right, so we did. And then the 2 strikes, and hopefully we'll get to them. The other strike's going to be tomorrow. I don't think we're going to get to it today.
Liver time.
All right. That works out well. All right, so we get to our. Make sure we got pretty far through. And let's talk.
Dionysus.
And we got to the start. We got the very beginning of Dionysus. That was it. All right.
No, yeah.
Because we have those 11 and then Hestia. So now that humans exist, Zeus is going to. Ooh, hang on. Time out. I forgot there's a thing. So it was thought during this time period, with this new race of humans that were created because they were made out of this magic clay, humans could not see gods in their true form. It was thought that the gods, they could shapeshift animals and then down to normal size, but gods had like a normal or their true version. So normally, if you came down and you were interacting with like humans, they would take like the shape of a person and like a man-sized thing. But at any time, they could show you their true form, which was like this radiating that would come shooting out from behind them, and it was thought to be so magnificent and so amazing, it would make you explode. And so humans could not see them in their true form. So that plays a big role. And it was sad. Okay, so this one's going to deal with Zeus deciding he's going to be friendly again, but this time not with a titan, not with a nymph, but with a human girl. And he comes down to earth and finds this human girl by the name of Semele. S-E-M-E-L-E, like a simile, metaphors and similes, but with all E's. And he comes down and he meets this girl named Semele, and he falls deeply in like. And he says, hey, you and I should be friendly because you're a human and I'm Zeus. You can tell because I'm wearing a toga and I can do this. I'm Zeus. And she's like, ah. And they get friendly. Shortly after their friendship, she gets pregnant. But like a normal pregnancy, not like that weird Hermes one. And Zeus tells her beforehand, he goes, hey, if you get pregnant from this, you cannot tell anyone who the father is. Because I don't know if my wife is going to get upset, and I would hate for her to come back and kill you. So, if pregnancy happens, this has to stay on the down low. Do not tell anyone. It is a secret. And I will come back to check on you in a couple months to see how things are going. Well, Semele gets pregnant. And as she begins to show, she walks around her little village, and she keeps not telling anybody who the parent is. Like, hey, you're pregnant? Who's the father? She's like, it's a secret. I can't tell. And then one day, one of her friends gets her to break down, because that's what friends do. They're like, come on, you can tell me. We're BFFs, whatever. You can. And she finally goes, okay, fine. I'm going to tell you, but this is just between you and me. You cannot tell anyone else. Her friend's like, yeah, totes. She goes, okay. Zeus is the father of the baby. he came down one day and we met. He had like a toga on and he was all like, I'm Zeus. And I was like, yeah, you are. And then we got together and friendship happened and now I'm pregnant. Her friend freaks out. She was like, this is the coolest news ever. She's like, you're like the most popular person in our entire village. We have nothing cool that's ever happened, and you've been with Zeus. You have to tell people, because the more people who know, the cooler you're going to be. Simile goes, really? You think so? And her friend's like, yeah. So Simile begins telling anybody who asks. She walks around the village, people walk by, and they're like, are you pregnant? She's like, I am. And don't tell anyone because it's a secret between you and me. But Zeus is the baby daddy. And it gets so bad that she just walks around town going, don't tell anyone. Zeus is the baby daddy, but his wife is a psycho. She's crazy. And starts telling anyone she can. Naturally, this gets back to Hera, who's up on Mount Olympus, and the rumors eventually get up there that Zeus has been friendly with some human girl who's going around telling everybody Zeus is the father. And not only that, but on top of that, that Hera is this crazy woman, which makes Hera a little on the grumpy side. Hera is tired of her husband going out and being friendly, so she comes up with a plan to end it once and for all. She thinks she has a better idea than killing Simile. Instead of her killing this girl, she is going to make Zeus kill the girl. And she thinks if she makes Zeus kill this woman, that's going to end all the issues altogether. So she comes up with a plan. She goes down to the village where Simile lives, and she transforms herself from her version into old woman version. And then she sort of goes around this town where Simile is. She has her little cane, and she hobbles up until she finds Simile. She's like, hey, girl, you look pregnant. Things you should never say to a woman. Who's the father? And Simile goes, old woman who I've never met before. Obviously, you and I are very close. You can't tell anyone because it's a secret, but the baby daddy is Zeus. But you can't say anything because his wife is a psycho. So Hera begins her plan, and she goes, oh, well, how do you know it's Zeus? Simile goes, what? No one's ever asked that. She goes, well, how do you know it wasn't just some random guy? How do you know it's actually Zeus? Did he prove it to you? She goes, well, I mean, no. He had a toga on, and he kept going, I'm Zeus, and kept posing like this the whole time. So obviously it was Zeus. And Hera goes, well, there's a chance it could be just a random person. You can take off. She goes, well, I mean, yeah, but how do you get a god to prove they're a god? And here's where Hera's plan comes in. She goes, well, there's only one way to really have a god prove that they're a god. Somebody goes, what is it? She goes, you have to get them to show you their true form. Somebody goes, no, crazy old woman. If you see a god in their true form, you die. Everybody knows that. So Hera goes, have you ever known anyone who's seen a god in their true form? Somebody goes, no, I haven't. She goes, there's a reason. It's because that's a lie spread by all of the titans themselves. Because if you see a god in their true form, they actually have to marry you and bring you up to Mount Olympus. That's why they don't want anyone to see them in their true form. Somebody goes, really? She goes, I would never lie to you. And she thinks about it. She was like, oh, well, that's pretty good advice. Okay. And it makes her get kind of upset. She realizes this guy she's been with is just some random dude. So she starts getting angrier and angrier. Hera goes back up to Mount Olympus, giggling, and she's like, stupid woman. And eventually, months go by, and Zeus shows up. Knocks on her door, comes in. He's like, hey, hon, it's me, Zeus. And she immediately starts getting in his face. There's snapping involved. There's a little head waggle back and forth. And she's like, you are not Zeus because you are just some random dirty old man who came in here and I'm going to report you to the police. And he's like, whoa, what is your... She's like, I talked to this old woman and she said that you're just some random dude and because you're really Zeus, you'd show me your true form. He goes, you don't want to see my true form. She goes, oh, I've seen your true form. It's dirty old man. He goes, oh, snap. He goes, you did not. She goes, I did too. He goes, fine. You want to see my true form? She goes, I want. He goes, done. Boom. And he goes into his true form right in front of her. She goes, no, it's true. Boom. and disappears right in front of him and gets vaporized. Problem is, the baby inside of her is half God. So once she vaporizes, boop, boop, a baby is just left sitting on the ground. Zeus goes, oh, snap, I done made a boo-boo. He's like, well, we gotta take care of this problem. So he looks around, doesn't see anyone, reaches down, picks up the baby, pulls out his knife, and stabs himself in the leg. From the hip all the way down to the knee, cuts open his leg, pulls it open like a giant taco, crams the baby into it, wraps his leg around it. Thus, whoop, ew. That way, he can bring the baby to full term, and that way the baby's not going to die, and he has his very own leg baby. And he walks around on Mount Olympus with a giant leg baby sitting there as he continues to walk around until he knows it's time to be born, and he can tell because his leg goes, he's like, baby's kicking. So he decides it's time to give birth to baby. So he grabs it like a giant leg baby pimple and goes spurt and births a baby. Once he births baby, he's super excited. He's like, I gave birth to a brain baby, and now I've given birth to a leg baby. And he's like, you know what? Giving birth to a leg baby is a big time in a man's life. Most men don't get to give birth to a leg baby. And he decides this leg baby deserves a throne on Mount Olympus. So he starts going around Mount Olympus and he starts complaining because all the thrones are taken up. And he's like, all of you children are selfish. My brothers and sisters are selfish. Here a man is given birth to a leg baby, and that leg baby can't even have a throne. And the other one's like, well, you can give up your throne. And he was like, I birthed a leg baby. What did you do? And eventually, Hestia steps up and goes, listen, brother, I understand it's a big moment in a man's life when he births his first leg baby. So because of that, I volunteer to step down and give up my throne. Zeus is so impressed, he lets her stay on Mount Olympus. She does not have to leave, and she becomes like the 13th Olympian, gets to hang out, work the fire, and stuff like that. And he puts Dionysus on there as the last god to finally get a throne. And Dionysus, being half human, eventually becomes full Titan through the nectar and ambrosia. It transforms him over into full Titan version, and he loses his human side. But he goes down and hangs out with humans all the time and was considered the youngest of the gods. And he does like to party. Turns out, a lot. And he ends up being the one that sort of invents wine. He was like, if you really want to party, there's this stuff called grape juice. And like, we've had it. He's like, you've not had my grape juice. And they're like, no, we have not. And so that is where him becoming god of wine plays a big role. But there's a problem. Sometimes if you have too much wine, something happens to you. And they really fully realize that. So the name Dionysus means two births or two sides, because it was thought that there were two sides to his personality, and that he was born twice. Once when his mom went kapoof, and then once when his dad went kaspert. So two births, and then two sides, sober and drunk. The reason this plays a big role is at his parties, which he was known to throw a lot, and he would invite humans and people to his parties. When he got drunk at his parties, he tended to kill everyone. And it was oftentimes these stories of people who would go to his parties and then not come back. Or you would go to his party and it would be the best party you ever had, because a Dionysus party was a big party. So people would go to him, but then sometimes nothing good would happen. But one of the things he was known for at his parties was he would have people show up and then perform these big theatrical plays where they would act out his favorite scenes from a war or his favorite scenes from a book. And so he sort of became known as the father of theater, because even though he threw parties and had a bit of a drinking problem, he did help create this idea of theater. There's even a symbol of theater that connects all the way back to Dionysus and the two sides to his personality. If you're familiar with theater, that's the one where you see the two different sides, that happy side and sad side. It is now called tragedy and comedy, but it goes all the way back to Dionysus and the fact that they thought that there were the two sides to his personality, the happy side and then the sad side. And so that is where Dionysus gets to step in as our final god. I will read. We're going to go a little bit further since it's right there, and you guys are a little bit ahead of my other classes, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview of our next story. Because this is going to be about a god we've not really told a story about yet, that you may be familiar with, but a guy by the name of Hades.
It's the guy from the movie.
Persephone.
It is. Actually, I tried to get pretty close to the guy from the movie for my clip art on this one. So this deals with Hades, and Hades has been down in his kingdom for a long time. Things have been going well, but eventually he gets lonely, and he decides that he would like to start dating. Problem is, to date somebody, you have to talk to them. That's like the first step of dating. And Hades is like, oh, if only there was a way to go from not dating straight to being with someone and skip all the boring talking part. I got it. And he ends up getting a crush on this girl by the name of Persephone, who was Demeter's daughter. She was known as the Spring Maiden. And so he ends up getting this crush on Persephone and decides that he wants to have her as his girlfriend. Problem is, he can't just take her, even though he's a god and even though he has his own kingdom. Why can he not just go up and take her?
Because he would have to confront people.
She's
Close,
not
but not
dead.
quite.
Kingdom.
Correct, because what kingdom is she in? She's in Zeus's kingdom. Now, if she'd been dead, would he have to get permission? No. If she was a mermaid, who would he get permission from? But because she's a living titan, he has to get permission from Zeus himself. So he goes and talks to Zeus. He's like, hey, brother, I have a crush. There's a really cute girl. I would like to take her as like my wifey type girlfriend thing because, you know. And Zeus goes, dude, I'm excited for you. Totally all for it. I give you the thumbs up. You're more than welcome to go after her. I give you full permission for it. And Hades goes, yay! So he decides to go after her. So he does what any guy would do. He creepily watches her from a distance until he has the right time to kidnap her.
Oh.
Oh,
It's what you do.
now I'm scared.
So he stays underground
Honestly.
and watches her as she goes running around, and he stays down in his kingdom like a little mole as he goes crawling around. And then he realizes the best way to get her to come to him is fishing, but not with like a fishing pole. He does what's called flower fishing. And by the way, some of these things I wish I was making up, but they're like actually in the stories from Greek mythology. He goes flower fishing. It was the thing that he did. So she was running around in this field with her friends playing a game called Who Could Find the Best Flower. Because apparently before we had TikTok, people just went around grabbing flowers. And so they were just running around grabbing different flowers. And so he sees her running around in a field with her friends, and he goes fishing by pushing up this gigantic, beautiful flower that looks like no other flower out there. And then he wiggles it back and forth like a little fishing lure. She sees it, and she's like, oh my God, that's the best flower ever! And she starts throwing an elbow into her friends' faces and knocking them down. She's like, that's my flower! And she goes running over to grab the flower, and she tries to pull it out, but when she tries to grab the flower and pull it, well, that's where the fishing kicks in, and he goes, "Bragger," and pulls her down underground with him.
It's like Space Jam.
Nice reference. Yes, like Space Jam, pulling her down underground. Gussie?
Is that where like the term pulling ladies comes from?
Yes, it comes straight. No, but I like what you were going with on that one. That was quite the reach there. So he has pulled her underground and goes, hi, my name is Wyland. What's up?
I don't really understand why Zeus said it's okay, because it's also Zeus's daughter, which kind of makes it creepy.
Well, true. How many brothers does Zeus have?
Two.
How many daughters does Zeus have?
A billion.
A billion.
Two men.
Which one do you think he's going to rank as more important? One of them he's going to lose track of because there's so many of them. The other one, there's only two. So it was like an easy choice for him. So yeah, if you were not aware, Persephone was also Zeus's child too, which is why he also gives permission.
Isn't that? That's
He
just
and
nice.
Demeter.
True. Also his daughter.
What?
Oh,
Does that
no.
mean he and Demeter
Did you want to go ahead and
were
process that for a
friends?
moment?
Yeah.
Sweet home.
Right.
Oh, they don't even have to look.
We covered all of this way back when we talked about how creepy they were. It's all good. He drags her down into the underworld and tells her, "Congratulations, you are my new wife." And she goes, "No." And he goes, "Oh, that's adorable. You think you have a choice." "No, I got permission from Zeus. You're mine." She goes, and then takes her down. And she is then forced to live in the underworld with him and become his wife, which she really does not like. But it's okay. There's someone who does not like it even more than her.
Demeter.
Why? Exactly. Demeter is not fond of this whole "you just gave my daughter away to get married" thing. Not only that, but you gave it away to her uncle or my brother, and again, Alabama. And so Demeter gets really upset about this whole thing. So she goes and confronts Zeus. She goes, "Hey, I want our child, my child, our child, the child." It's so confusing. "I want Persephone back. You're going to have to return her." He goes, "You know what? We're going to talk about that tomorrow." Because it's time for me to read a book about creepy children. Home kids, you got lucky. This class was ahead, so it wasn't quite as long as I thought it'd be. Oh wait, hang on. Like and subscribe, because this is a hunky hot
Hot sauce.
sauce thing. Hot sauce hunk.